The hits keep coming in with regard to Donald Trump, Donald Trump's speech to the pretender in chief, the vote loser in chief, right? The popular vote loser. Keep coming in. The analysis of that. Obamacare is going on. There's this terrible hurricane cranking its way across the Caribbean toward. It's over Puerto Rico right now, and so the TV networks, to the extent that they can do it, are going to probably go in full-out disaster porn mode, weather disaster porn mode nonstop. Will they be talking about why there's 6% more moisture in the air, which makes these rainfalls massively huger? Will they be talking about why there's oh, wait, this thing is just didn't my anyway, will they be talking about why the oceans are so much warmer, which is the fuel for a hurricane? At least the weather forecasters, they can kind of say, the warm oceans are fuel for hurricanes, without saying, and the oceans are warmer because of global warming. In fact, 90% of the heat that has been trapped in the earth as a result of the increased greenhouse gas levels in the atmosphere, 90% of that heat has gone into our oceans. And the heat from an ocean rises into the air and causes, as air rises, the cool air around it settles, and pretty soon you get this, convection pattern going, and you get a little low pressure system in the middle of it, and it turns into a hurricane. So you've got that. I mean, there is a lot going on. I wanted to talk about the Equifax thing, too. Charles Sauer is going to be with us in the third hour of our program, but other than that, it's just going to be you and me. If there is anything that you think that is of particular consequence or that we're missing, feel free to give us a shout. But to start with the UN, just to kind of close this up, because we did talk somewhat about Donald Trump's speech to the UN yesterday, but it was most of our conversation was largely focused on his, threatening to annihilate or devastate or whatever the word was, North Korea, to wipe them off the map. And I know, and the rest of the world knows, and North Korea knows, that if he did that, it would not be limited to North Korea. If he did that with the kind of instantaneous high-powered weapons, like nuclear weapons, that would create a nuclear disaster for South Korea and for China. And if he did it with conventional weapons, the time involved to get them there would certainly would not be enough to prevent Kim Jong-un from launching his missiles that are and missiles and mortars and cannons and all those kinds of things that are in the mountainsides overlooking the city of Seoul. 10 million people sitting there. 20 million in the whole larger region, just sitting there like sitting ducks, just 20 miles away from these things, which is an easy lob. And there's no way to stop them. This isn't like the kind of missile technology that you can stop. So when John Kennedy addressed the United Nations, when Jimmy Carter addressed the United Nations, when Barack Obama addressed the United Nations, the position that an American president takes tells you a lot about, A, what that president thinks America is all about, and B, what America is all about, right? Because we elected that president, and because the president is saying what he's saying, particularly in a speech at the UN. This was one that Trump read off a teleprompter, so this was something that clearly was vetted by his generals. By the way, have we experienced a military coup? We now have generals running our country. Has this just kind of slid by everybody? But I digress. So here you have, typically when these past presidents have addressed the United Nations, they were operating out of a sense of America is that shining city on the hill. America is the hope of the world. America is here for the other countries of the world. We're part of a global family. We are our brother's keepers. And what Trump essentially said is, nah, that's not what we're all about. We're about us, and you should be about you. So Trump was basically, promoting the ideology, the thought process, the philosophy that the libertarians have, which is, I got mine, screw everybody else, or the intellectual variation on that Milton Friedman and whatnot, put forward is if everybody acts in their own most selfish mode, that somehow magically that will organize the economy in a way that works for everybody. And, if everybody was entirely altruistic, if everybody had as their principal value, personal value, if they had as their principal value fairness, then and an understanding of fairness, which, by the way, even children, even pre-language, 2-year-old kids, not particularly articulate, you put them in a room, and if one kid has a disproportionate number of toys, the rest of them react like, what? What's going on here? We've been doing these studies since the 50s, right? And we know, fairness is just like wired into us, except not all of us. There are a few people who just don't have that fairness thing, because in order to understand fairness, that requires you to understand empathy, or to have empathy, the ability to identify with another person and feel in yourself what you imagine they are feeling, what you believe they are feeling based on what you know and what you see and what you hear from them. And the people who can't do that are called sociopaths. They lack the ability to do that. And that's the basis of the whole libertarian philosophy of I've got mine. And that's the sales pitch that Donald Trump made to the world yesterday. Completely different from any other president in the past. And this is what Dianne Feinstein had to say about it. And I thought this was absolutely brilliant. She said, the goals, this is the senator from California. This was just released. She said, the goals of the United Nations are to foster peace and promote global cooperation. Today, this was yesterday, of course, the president used it as a stage to threaten war. He missed an opportunity to present any positive actions the UN could take with respect to North Korea. And he launched a diatribe against Iran, offering, again, no pathway forward. By suggesting he would revisit and possibly cancel the Iran nuclear agreement, he greatly escalated the danger that we face both from Iran and North Korea. What nation would negotiate with the United States when the agreements we reach with other countries are so easily undermined, said Senator Feinstein. She added, Trump's bombastic threat to destroy North Korea and his refusal to prevent any positive pathways forward on the many global challenges we face are severe disappointments. He aims to unify the world through tactics of intimidation, but in reality, he only further isolates, and here is the real tragedy, further isolates the United States.